What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and making a quick video. Just wanted to mention a couple quick things. First, there have been reports that apparently Ryan Fitzpatrick is named the starter for the remainder of the season. We'll see how that plays out. As we all know, the last time that this coaching staff made a very definitive and declarative statement about who the starting quarterback was going to be for the rest of the season, it didn't take very long. In fact, not only but a few days for that to change. Now, has Ryan Fitzpatrick been playing all right? Yeah, he's been playing all right. Has it been spectacular? No, by no means has it been spectacular, but he's been doing well. But, you know, he and the team are likely, due for a little bit more of a reality check, a fall back down to earth. So we'll see. And I mean, but, you know, honestly, though, at the end of the day, most of the game, or a few of the games rather, that we have down the stretch are, against teams that are struggling, if not, bad. And there's definitely going to be opportunities, and these players are certainly playing hard. But, Ryan Fitzpatrick is Ryan Fitzpatrick. And, every game's different. So, we'll see. But it's just funny that they decided to be, yeah, he's going to be the guy, and maybe he will, but we'll have to see how that goes forward. Also, real quick, I just wanted to mention what our current draft positioning is at this moment. What our, what our picks are looking like for this upcoming draft. As it stands right now, with the 2 wins that we have, our pick is at number 4. The one that we own, that's just solely ours. And then obviously we have the one from Pittsburgh and the one from Houston. And as it stands right now, the Pittsburgh pick is going to be the number 22 overall pick, and the Houston pick is the number 26 overall pick. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we have to wait and see how that all ends up at the very end of the year, but I think it actually is pretty likely that the Houston and Pittsburgh picks end up somewhere approximately where they are currently. Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a substantial possibility that Pittsburgh pick could end up being, late teens, early 20s. And that Houston pick is likely to be, mid-20s, somewhere in there. But the difference is, though, and especially if we did end up winning more games, I mean, if we do end up winning more games, if we beat the Jets again, if we beat the Bengals, what have you, then our pick would likely fall out of that top 5. Maybe, and it depends. I mean, if we were to beat Cleveland, that would put them above us. If we beat the Giants, that'll keep them above us. I mean, look, we already beat the Washington Redskins. The Bengals are ahead of us right now. The Giants are ahead of us right now. If we manage to beat both of those teams, that would drop us down. The Jets are right after us. The Browns are a few picks after us currently. So, it just depends. But yeah, so, and again, for me, I'd rather have the wins personally. But there's just a lot of ways that this all can play out. And so, I personally don't really, as you guys know, have confidence that this organization is going to handle this all right. There's obviously a lot of, speculation in a lot of different ways. We'll see what happens. I think that, most likely it's gonna end up in a disaster and backfire. They have an opportunity to prove me wrong. But, again, if it does end up being a situation where we end up dropping out of the top 5, and there've been, there's plenty of speculation on this. People have talked about it. There are even people that were, I read an article maybe today or yesterday where someone was talking about, would it be the most ideal situation? Probably not. But you know what? The Dolphins would be perfectly fine and be wonderful and be great if, they did end up having to make some sort of move where they trade away a bunch of the accumulated draft capital that they get to move up to the number 1 pick with the Bengals so they can get Tua or whatever. Like, come on, bruh. Really? I mean, that would be the worst thing that could happen. That'd be the absolute worst thing that could happen. I mean, depending on how you look at it. Because again, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather have the wins. But in that, like, right? So if we right now throughout the rest of the season, I'd love to get the win. So I'd love to beat Cleveland. I would love to beat the Jets and the Giants and the Bengals, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4 more wins right there. That would get us to 6 wins, right? So you know, let's beat the Bills next week. 7 wins. I would love that, right? I would love to be proven wrong that we couldn't make it to 6 or 7 wins. Does that mean that that this season was not a tank, or that we are not in a tanking philosophy and mindset? No, because we did the key components. We tried to make our team systemically as bad as possible so that way we could get as high a pick as possible. But just in case we managed to squeak out some wins here and there and we don't get that number 1 pick, they did make sure that they have an insurance policy and that they can just give away all of that accumulated capital so that way they can move up and get the quarterback that they want anyway. But in this position, or in the situation that we're in, especially considering so many holes and blah, 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 it would be the absolute worst thing that they could do if they decided to trade away, like, let's say we end up, you know, having the 7th or 8th overall pick, or what if we do end up, you know, getting to 6 or 7 wins and then we drop out of the top 10, and then we have the Pittsburgh pick that's like early 20s and the Houston pick mid 20s. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Stephen Ross and this regime to trade away all those picks so that way they can move up to get the quarterback. It would be a massive waste. But, you know, and then I could likely see them also being like, you know, well, and then we know they're going to spend big in free agency. So then they'll be like, oh, but, you know, we still have, you know, we got our quarterback that we want. We also have, you know, they might keep Josh Rosen for another year and be like, yeah, you know, and we're still taking a chance on him. So maybe he'll still work out, even though we've pretty much proven that, you know, we don't really think so. And then they'll try and patchwork together some sort of offensive line with free agents, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. I mean, we'll see how it works out. Like I said, I mean, at this point, and even when it comes, like I said, when it comes to the games and, you know, the rest of this season and everything, I have specific things that I'm looking for, which I mentioned before. You know, I'm obviously keeping an eye on our injury situation, how that plays out. Continuing to look at guys that could potentially be, you know, building blocks for the future. Do we win games? How competitive are we in each of the games going forward? And, you know, what's the quality of the team we play, and how competitive are we against the more or the higher quality teams, right? So that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for the rest of the season. But, you know, at the same time, you know, I mean, at this point, we're kind of in just like a wait and see mode, right? I mean, each game provides, you know, a little bit of excitement and some things to talk about, you know, because it's a new game and, you know, can we win it and blah, blah, blah. All those things, you know, like I said, that I'm personally looking for. But really, at the end of the day, I mean, if we're keeping it real, the big thing that's going to come out of this is at the end of the season, right? Because we need to figure out, we need to know, we need to have the information and the data to one, tell us, you know, where we're going to be picking, right? Because that's the next major thing, right? So, I mean, we're not going to make it to the playoffs. That's not going to happen. We're going to lose some more games for sure. I mean, I still don't think we're going to make it to 6 wins. I think that's still pretty unlikely, but you know, I would love it. And if we did, it would certainly, you know, affect the draft status, but we need to figure that out, you know? So for the remainder of the season, you know, try and figure out who can maybe stick, but we really need to know what our draft position is going to be. Because right now, you know, the debate or the, you know, whatever, in the media and amongst fans and so on and so forth centers primarily on, you know, is this tanking and philosophy, blah, 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 gonna be successful? And one of the reasons and one of the main focuses is all of the draft capital that we have and so on and so forth. Again, I don't really trust them to get all of that right or prioritize correctly, but you know, we just don't know yet, right? Because as it, you know, we speculate right now, we have the 4th, the 22nd, and the 26th picks. But, you know, if we lose the rest of our games, then we actually could end up getting the 1st overall pick. And, you know, if the Steelers lose games, blah, blah, blah. So there's still a lot of speculation. It's kind of a wait and see. Once we know where we pick, then we'll just know. We'll know what our status is. So we'll know, you know, we will know if we end up having the 1st overall, or if we do end up dropping out of the top 5 or even out of the top 10, right? And then what the status of all our picks are going to be. And then we can speculate a little bit more accurately on what we think is going to happen. Also, I'd like to know, I need to make sure I police myself on this, but I'm really tired of people being like, I knew that this was gonna happen. Nobody knows shit about anything. We're all just speculating. We make our predictions, and you know, I definitely think that you can have you know, a more accurate prediction when you base your information or your predictions off of, you know, factual information, data, statistics, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? With applied logic and reason. But no matter what, it's always speculation and nobody ever knows for sure. So I'm just tired of people being like, oh, you know, I just knew this for sure, 100%, like way in advance. And again, I've done it too, so I need to be more careful about how I phrase that and how I approach that, and be clear that, you know, these are my speculations, and this is based off of the information I have, the predictions that I'm making for things, right? So, there's that. But yeah, so we just don't know. So once we know that, then we could speculate a little bit more on what they're going to do. I think it's pretty clear, though, that at least right now it's pretty clear that, you know, they want to get a quarterback. So depending on how the draft actually falls, if we end up getting the number 1 overall pick, obviously we don't have to move up and trade away that draft capital. But at this particular point in the season, it looks like we actually stand a substantial chance of not only not having the number 1 overall pick, but also at the very least potentially falling out of the top 5. And so once we know what our actual picks are going to be, then we can determine, you know, if we think that the team is going to trade all of that draft, or not all of it, but a substantial, you know, chunk of our accumulated draft capital to chase one guy, right? To chase one player. Maybe it's Tua, maybe it's Herbert, maybe it's Fromm, maybe it's, you know, your grandmother or my aunt, right? Like, who knows, right? We don't know. Again, all of that is speculation as well. Now, my prediction is that, you know, personally, that Stephen Ross wants a quarterback at all costs. I mean, this entire season, you know, and the entire approach. I mean, all of the last year when we picked Minkah Fitzpatrick, Stephen Ross, you know, didn't really like that. He wanted to get a quarterback. So, I mean, look, I think it's pretty clear. Obviously, that is still speculation until it's written in stone. But that's my prediction, is that he wants a quarterback at all costs. So I am fearful. And besides, also, he doesn't have a really good track record of, you know, making appropriate football decisions, or knowing when to be involved or when not to be involved, or blah, 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 right? So, you know, we'll see how that plays out. And yeah, so that's all I got for you guys. I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit, mention those couple things. And so I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos and my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you share my channel and my videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.